The bikes parked in your garage today may not be legal much longer. Across the country, inspections, emissions checks, and documentation laws are tightening fast. And they don't come with sirens or headlines. They come with failed renewals and denied registrations. Tonight, we're walking through 13 motorcycles now sitting in that danger zone. No rumors, no scare tactics. Just what's changing, why it matters, and how close some riders already are to losing their right to ride. Number 13. Buell Lightning XB12S. Regulation rarely arrives with sirens. It creeps in through forms, inspections, and vanished paperwork, and this machine sits squarely in that crosswind. Built during a brief window when innovation outran bureaucracy, it earned loyalty from riders who valued torque and handling over chrome. Time has changed the rules, not the riding experience. The Lightning still feels honest and mechanical, but honesty does not satisfy modern compliance checks. As an orphaned platform, support faded when the factory doors closed, leaving owners to navigate inspections alone. In stricter states, inspectors look for documentation first, not character. Missing certification letters and outdated emissions records can stall renewals even when the bike runs clean. Pride does not print replacement labels, and appeals move slowly. What makes this situation sting is how little abuse it takes to trigger trouble. A moved exhaust, a replaced control module, or a mismatched frame tag can raise questions that cannot be answered anymore. Riders who keep everything stock fare better, yet resale and transfer invite fresh scrutiny. The Lightning becomes a lesson in how quickly legitimacy can hinge on paperwork rather than miles ridden. Ownership remains possible, but certainty fades. The Buell Lightning XB12S offers 98 horsepower from its 1,203 cubic centimeters engine, producing 84 pound-feet of torque. It weighs 425 pounds, has a seat height of 30.5 inches, and is priced at $11,995. Losing factory backing creates one kind of risk. Losing an entire manufacturer creates another. The next bike proves how confidence on the road means nothing once compliance trails go cold. Number 12. Victory Hammer S. Confidence was never the problem here. This machine was built to dominate parking lots and straight roads, carrying the kind of presence that made riders feel planted and untouchable. The trouble came later, when strength outlived its maker. With the factory gone, the Hammer lost something more important than marketing. It lost a living compliance trail. Riders who own one know how solid it feels at speed, how calm it stays under load, and how easily it shrugs off miles. None of that matters when inspections begin with databases instead of test rides. In states tightening emissions and documentation checks, unanswered, questions become automatic red flags. The Hammer sits in a gray zone that frustrates long-term owners. Parts still exist, forums still help, and independent shops keep them running strong. But inspectors are not mechanics, and they are not historians. They want proof that the machine meets standards as written today, not explanations about how well it was built yesterday. When a manufacturer no longer issues updated certification letters, even a perfectly stock example can face delays or outright denials. Transfers and out-of-state registrations bring even more scrutiny, turning routine ownership into a paperwork gamble. The Victory Hammer S delivers 97 horsepower and 1,731 cubic centimeters engine with 110 pound-feet of torque. It weighs 674 pounds, has a seat height of 26.3 inches, and is priced at $19,999. Orphaned brands draw attention. Aging machines invite inspection everywhere. If you found this list eye-opening, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Comment and share on what's happening in the motorcycle market where you live. We're covering the laws that could change your ride forever. Stay ahead of the game, keep following for all the critical updates you need. Number 11. Kawasaki KZ1000. There was a time when size, simplicity, and strength were enough. This machine came from that era, built when durability mattered more than documentation, and carburetors ruled the road. Riders trusted it because it started every morning, pulled hard through the mid-range, and held together mile after mile. Decades later, that same honesty puts it under a microscope. Cities no longer measure character. They measure output. What once passed as clean now reads excessive on paper, even when the engine is properly tuned and well maintained. The problem is not neglect. Many examples are cared for better now than when they were new. The issue is how enforcement has changed. Visual inspections and emissions standards increasingly target carbureted engines first, especially large ones. Inspectors see exposed hardware, older fuel systems, and the absence of modern controls, then start asking questions that owners cannot easily answer. Original documentation is often long gone, and replacement compliance records were never designed to exist. Even in states without testing today, the pressure is moving outward from urban centers. The Kawasaki KZ1000 produces 82 to 90 horsepower from its 1,016 cubic centimeters engine and 82 pound-feet of torque. It weighs 600 pounds with a seat height of 31.5 inches, starting at $3,500. Carburetors raise flags. Missing paperwork raises walls. The next bike isn't threatened by how it runs, but by what was removed decades ago without a second thought. Number 10. Harley-Davidson FXR Superglide. Long before ride modes and touchscreens, this platform earned respect the hard way by tracking straight at speed and staying composed when the miles stacked up. Riders gravitated to it because it felt balanced and honest, built for men who actually rode instead of posing at stoplights. Over time, that reputation only grew, especially among those who valued handling as much as torque. The problem arrived quietly, not through breakdowns, but through restoration culture. Frames were stripped, powder-coated, cleaned to perfection, and in the process, something critical disappeared. Small factory labels that once meant nothing suddenly became everything. The FXR now lives or dies by paperwork. Modern registration offices lean on documentation first, mechanical condition second. When an emissions compliance label is missing or unreadable, the discussion ends quickly. It does not matter that the bike runs clean or remains stock. Without that sticker, proof is gone. Replacement labels are rarely issued, and older records are often incomplete. Owners discover the risk when transferring titles, renewing registrations, or moving across state lines. What was once a straightforward classic becomes a bureaucratic headache. The Harley-Davidson FXR Superglide offers 55 to 60 horsepower with a 1,340 cubic centimeters engine, producing 72 pound-feet of torque. It weighs 560 pounds, has a seat height of 28 inches, and is priced at $8,000. Paperwork risk is maddening because it feels arbitrary. Pre-regulation risk is worse because it never really goes away. Every tightening cycle makes older platforms more visible, especially in cities looking for easy targets. Number 9. Harley-Davidson Shovelhead Electra Glide. There's a reason older riders still look back fondly on this machine. It wasn't just about cruising, it was about building a legacy. The Shovelhead defined a generation of riders who took pride in comfort, power, and raw simplicity. But now, decades later, those same qualities are turning into hurdles. Emissions regulations weren't even on the radar when this bike first hit the streets, and now they're everything. Built before modern noise and pollution standards, the Shovelhead faces an uphill battle. While some models may earn a nostalgic pass under antique laws, others are starting to feel the strain of tighter urban enforcement. The real issue isn't the bike itself, it's the way the world around it has changed. What once was a straightforward, reliable ride now finds itself stuck in a time warp where paper trails matter more than miles ridden. In states that enforce strict emission controls, this bike becomes a target, even though it was engineered long before such laws even existed. Noise violations and emissions failures could be enough to ground the Shovelhead in cities looking to clean up the air. The Harley-Davidson Shovelhead. Electra Glide produces 50 to 55 horsepower from its 1,200 cubic centimeters engine, delivering 75 pound-feet of torque. It weighs 700 pounds, has a seat height of 28 inches, and is priced at $7,500. Now, a louder exhaust feels like personality. Regulators hear liability. That difference is closing the gap between popular upgrade and registration problem faster than many riders expect. Number 8. Harley-Davidson Softail Deuce. When a bike is built for the long haul, it's easy to forget that not every modification adds value. The Softail Deuce was designed for smooth, long-distance riding, with comfort and stability baked into its frame. But as the years have gone on, many owners have transformed this machine into something louder, something more aggressive. And while the rumble of a Harley is part of its charm, certain modifications can cause problems that might not be immediately obvious. The Softail Deuce, like many Harley models, is subject to increasing scrutiny, especially when modified. The real risk here isn't the bike's reliability. Harleys are built to last. Instead, it's the way exhaust modifications and performance enhancements have become a target for regulators. A modified exhaust system, while enhancing the sound and performance, can often cross the line into being considered a noise or emissions violation, especially in states with stricter laws. What was once an easy upgrade now comes with the potential for inspection failures. No longer is a loud exhaust just an inconvenience to your neighbors. It could prevent you from registering or renewing your bike's legal status. The Harley-Davidson Softail Deuce, with a 1,450 cubic centimeters engine, generates 70 to 75 horsepower and 82 pound-feet of torque. It weighs 700 pounds, has a seat height of 27.5 inches, and starts at $14,500. The Softail Deuce might still turn heads, but its modified exhaust systems are increasingly becoming a legal liability in states cracking down on noise pollution. But we all know exhaust changes draw eyes. Tuning creates receipts, logs, and evidence. One might earn a warning. The other can fail an inspection on paper, even if the bike rides beautifully. Number 7. Harley-Davidson Dyna Lowrider. There's something undeniably magnetic about a bike that feels like it was built to rule the road without saying a word. The Dyna Lowrider isn't just a motorcycle, it's a statement. With its low profile and aggressive stance, it immediately calls attention, but not in the flashy way that modern cruisers often do. Instead, it speaks through its performance, its handling, and its ability to stay planted when the throttle opens. Riders flock to it because it brings a perfect balance of power and control, a characteristic that makes it a favorite among long-distance riders and weekend warriors alike. However, the lowrider's legacy now faces a growing challenge as emissions and tuning regulations tighten their grip. Over the years, the Dyna Lowrider has become one of the most modified Harley-Davidson bikes on the road. Riders swapped out exhausts, retuned engines, and pushed performance limits. But as regulations become stricter, these once popular mods are starting to draw attention for all the wrong reasons. Non-compliant tuning, especially with aftermarket parts that bypass factory emission systems, makes this bike a prime target for inspection failures. Owners who modified their bikes with performance parts now face the risk of failing emissions tests or even losing their ability to register the bike at all. The Harley-Davidson Dyna Lowrider delivers 70 to 75 horsepower from its 1,450 cubic centimeters engine, producing 85 pound-feet of torque. Weighing 730 pounds with a seat, height of 28.3 inches, it is priced at $14,500. What if restoration makes a classic less legal than leaving it worn? That sounds backward, yet missing compliance labels turn pride into paralysis. A perfect build can still become a garage ornament if proof disappears. Number 6. Honda CB750. For riders who cherished raw performance and simplicity, This machine stood as a testament to a time when engineering took center stage over unnecessary embellishments. For many, it was their first real taste of power. A bike that could cruise comfortably or hit twisty roads with equal ease. With its simple but reliable engineering, it was the kind of motorcycle that became a benchmark in its era. But now, decades later, what was once a timeless classic is beginning to feel the weight of modern laws, particularly when it comes to emissions. The restored examples, in particular, now face a significant challenge. Restoration is part of the ownership pride, but often it's the very process of breathing new life into these machines that introduces problems. The CB750 wasn't built with today's emissions standards in mind, and those carefully restored models often end up missing critical compliance labels. Without the original emissions sticker, even the most lovingly restored bike becomes a potential problem during registration or inspection. While mechanical repairs might make it run like new, the absence of these small labels can prevent it from ever being legally registered again. It's a tough reality for owners who have kept their bikes in pristine condition. Those small details, once inconsequential, have now become the difference between enjoying the ride or facing a stack of bureaucratic red tape. The Honda CB750 offers 67 to 70 horsepower from its 745 cubic centimeters engine with 53 pound-feet of torque. It weighs 560 pounds, has a seat height of 31 inches, and starts at $2,800. Emissions aren't the only battleground. Safety technology is becoming the next dividing line, and older touring bikes are feeling it first. Number 5. Harley-Davidson Twin. Cam Touring. There's something about the way a Harley settles into the road that makes you feel like you're part of something bigger. The early 2000 twin cam touring models were built with that very feeling in mind. These bikes weren't just made for cruising, they were made for endurance. They offered the kind of comfort and reliability that made them perfect for long-distance riders. But time, along with tightening regulations, has caught up with this once pure touring bike. What was built to last now finds itself at odds with modern emissions standards. The twin-cam touring models were among the last of the truly rugged machines that didn't have to worry about emissions testing. Their durability and performance were the selling points, not the need to comply with every little regulation. However, as emissions laws get stricter and testing becomes more pervasive, even these road-ready giants are finding their future uncertain. The problem lies in their emissions systems, which were never designed with today's standards in mind. Those modifications, or lack thereof, can make passing state inspections a real headache. As emissions testing expands into more states, these bikes may soon become unwelcome in areas where they once thrived. The twin-cam touring models will always have a special place in the hearts of riders who appreciate real touring bikes. But now, more than ever, owners must weigh their options carefully. The Harley-Davidson Twin Cam Touring models deliver 70 to 75 horsepower from their 1,450 cubic centimeters engine, producing 135 pound-feet of torque. Weighing 890 pounds with a seat height of 27.3 inches, these models start at $17,995. Though built for long-haul comfort, these bikes are now struggling to stay legal as emissions regulations tighten, especially in states with more rigorous testing requirements. And emissions restrict engines. Safety rules restrict access. Subscribe now if you haven't already, so you're always in the loop about the latest changes that could affect your ride. We're here to help you stay informed, avoid surprises, and make sure you're ready for whatever comes next in the world of motorcycles. So comment your experience down below. Number 4. Harley-Davidson Road King. There's a timeless appeal to the open road, and few motorcycles embody that spirit like the Road King. Built for those who take comfort seriously, it's a bike that blends classic touring aesthetics with the kind of power that makes the miles melt away. But even this iconic cruiser faces modern challenges, particularly for riders who hold on to older models. The Road King, without an anti-lock braking system, is one such challenge. And its once unspoken advantage now carries a heavier weight. In an era where safety is becoming more critical, the lack of an anti-lock braking system can make this bike an increasingly difficult sell in some regions. Insurance companies, regulatory bodies, and state laws are starting to make non-ABS bikes more expensive to own, harder to insure, and tougher to ride legally in certain areas. As states crack down on older bikes, those with outdated braking technology are beginning to stand out in all the wrong ways. What was once a perfectly acceptable standard has now become a liability. Riders who prefer the classic Road King experience may find themselves weighing whether the joy of the ride is worth the growing administrative hassle. While the bike's core performance remains rock solid, the lack of modern braking assistance makes it vulnerable. As laws tighten, the road will always call. But now, more than ever, riders may face higher costs or limited access to the open highway. The Harley-Davidson Road King without anti-lock braking system delivers 70 to 75 horsepower with a 1,450 cubic centimeters engine, producing 83 pound-feet of torque. It weighs 760 pounds, has a seat height of 27.5 inches, and starts at $18,500. A machine built as self-expression becomes a documentation problem, especially if receipts, certification, and proof were never kept from the beginning. Number 3. Harley-Davidson Evo Sportster. When a motorcycle becomes a canvas, it's no longer just about riding. It's about making a statement. The Evo Sportster, especially the heavily customized models, holds a special place for riders who see their bike as an extension of themselves. These machines are a mix of power and individuality, blending classic Harley styling with personal touches that make each bike one of a kind. But as time moves forward, so do the challenges that come with these personalized rides. What once made the Evo Sportster a favorite is now becoming a stumbling block for many owners. The heavy customization that defines many Evo Sportsters also means that the bike's compliance with modern regulations is often up for debate. While these bikes may look and feel like a masterpiece of engineering, any change to the exhaust, tuning, or frame could risk a violation of emission standards or safety regulations. In areas where emissions testing is stricter, even small modifications can push the bike into the illegal territory. What's worse is that these modifications often come with no official documentation, leaving owners without proof that their custom work meets state or federal guidelines. This is a growing concern for riders who have poured time, effort, and money into making their Evo Sportster stand out. What was once a simple, rugged ride now faces an uncertain future as state inspections become more rigorous. The Harley-Davidson Evo Sportster offers 50 to 55 horsepower from its 1,200 cubic centimeters engine, producing 72 pound-feet of torque. Weighing 625 pounds with a seat height of 29 inches, this model is priced at $8,000. Number 2. Suzuki Hayabusa. There's no denying the Hayabusa's reputation. Known as one of the most powerful and fastest sport bikes ever built, it has etched its name into the history books of motorcycle performance. For many, it's the bike that defines raw, unbridled speed. However, in recent years, the Hayabusa has found itself tangled in a web of legal red tape, especially when it comes to gray market imports. What was once a sought-after machine has now become a risky investment for many riders. The issue lies in the importation process. While the Hayabusa is legal in many countries, the rules surrounding its importation into the United States are becoming more restrictive. If you purchase one of these bikes through unofficial channels, it may not meet the necessary compliance standards set by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Environmental Protection Agency. These regulations cover everything from emissions to safety standards. The result? The bike could be seized at customs, leaving you with a worthless pile of parts, no title, and a hefty fine. The Suzuki Hayabusa delivers 155 to 160 horsepower from its 1,340 cubic centimeters engine, producing 115 pound-feet of torque. Weighing 560 pounds with a seat height of 30 inches, it starts at $13,500. Seizure is rare. Total loss is rarer. Number 1. Honda NSR 250R. In the world of sport bikes, there are few machines that have left a legacy as powerful as the Honda NSR 250R. Built for those who crave speed and precision, the NSR has earned its place in the hearts of riders who value agility and high performance. This two-stroke wonder was designed for the track, with every aspect engineered to deliver adrenaline-pumping performance. But for many riders, especially in the United States, owning one now presents a challenge that extends beyond just its performance capabilities. The NSR, particularly in its gray market form, is now caught in the snare of importation laws and regulatory hurdles. While the NSR 250R remains a dream bike for many, the reality of getting one into the US legally is becoming more and more complicated. The US government's 25-year import rule means that only certain models can be legally registered. And if you've recently purchased one outside of this window, you may be in for a rude awakening. If your NSR was manufactured less than 25 years ago, it could be subject to federal import laws that result in its seizure, regardless of whether or not it has a title. This looming uncertainty has turned the ownership of these once coveted machines into a risk for enthusiasts who long for the thrill of riding one. Despite the regulatory nightmares, the NSR still stands as an iconic piece of motorcycle history. The Honda NSR 250R produces 38 to 45 horsepower from its 249 cubic centimeters engine, delivering 22 pound-feet of torque. It weighs 325 pounds, has a seat height of 31.1 inches, and starts at $4,500. This legendary two-stroke sport bike is still a dream for many riders, but the gray market import rules have turned owning one into a game of legal roulette. As the rules tighten and the clock runs out, you'll need to act fast to protect your ride. If your motorcycle is one of the 13 on this list, it's time to think ahead. Stay informed, stay prepared, and stay ahead of the changes. Don't let new laws catch you off guard. Make sure you're ready for what's coming next. Hit that subscribe button and keep up with the latest updates, because the future of your ride depends on it.